Good morning, and it's just about 40 minutes past the hour of 7, and we do thank you for being a part of Sunrise at Sea. The conversation on the Twitter jabs continues, and today what we're doing here is quite simple. We give you highlights and breakdown, but of course I'll be joined by different gentlemen, and they'll be weighing in regard to the State of Nation address that was delivered by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni yesterday at the Kololo Independence Grounds. Well, joining me is none other than Member of Parliament, and that is Honorable Hannington Musoke, and he is the MP of Nansana Municipality. Good morning, sir, and thank you so much for joining us this morning on CTV.
Good morning, lady.
Okay. Before I even go further, congratulations on your court petition. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, yet again, another gentleman joining me in studio is none other than Honorable Ojara Martin, and he is actually the MP for Gulu West Luyibi Division. I hope I got that right. Good morning, Honorable, and thank you for joining us. Laibi.
Exactly.
Oh, Laibi Division.
It's Badege Laibi.
Ah,
yes.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me this morning.
Please.
We do appreciate you, putting time aside to weigh in on matters of national importance and interest.
Indeed.
So let's cut right to the chase, and I'll start with you, Honorable Hannington, first of all. What do you feel about in regard to the State of Nation address? Would you say, or what is your biggest take from what the President said yesterday at the State of Nation address?
First and foremost, I would like to appreciate the President for coming and address the people. It was long overdue, and it is his mandate actually to tell the people of what is happening in the country. Our President started with a parable, and I appreciated the parable. He talked about the fool and the wise man, and he said that that the wise man had to build his house on a very good foundation. But in regards to our country, we are not yet there. We are not yet on a good ground. There are a number of things he talked about. One was the agriculture sector.
Yes.
In fact, he talked about the solar pump. That was so excellent. It's long overdue, and people, in fact, were yearning to hear such a statement.
That is
and in
true.
fact, he was talking about it with the time they will be supplying them actually in the village. That was excellent from the President. But the President did not talk about the corruption late in the country. It's too much. He does good things, and at the end of the day, they are taken by one individual. You get me? That doesn't work out well. He talked about the increased costs. He didn't tell us how these costs are going to be reduced. He was talking about that he's lucky that he has written to President of the United States of America, who is soon going to Saudi Arabia to see that there would be extra pumping of the fuel. He talked about that he wrote to Ukraine and Russia actually to give way for the grains. He talked about the palm plants that he has that we are going to plant. But all those are long-term activities. They are not short-term activities. He talked that it is suicidal actually to not to levy on the fuel. That was not true. We are not telling him that it should not actually levy on what? On fuel, but at least he should reduce on the what? On what should levy on the fuel, actually to reduce on the cost of the commodity.
Okay.
So that is how I see things.
So in your opinion, the President highlighted long-term achievements instead of handling the short-term, which we're looking at commodity
people
prices.
Want an everlasting solution to these problems that are existing, the skyrocketing costs of commodities.
Okay.
That's what they want. Okay. Because now traveling is becoming a menace. I've seen a number of vehicles actually stuck on the way. What is he doing? He didn't talk about it.
Yes.
He did not talk about it whatsoever. He did not talk about how best can we work, how should the public work to see that the costs are reduced. He did not talk about it.
So in the same spirit, and before I get to you, Honorable Ojara, it's very important that, and I'm sure this information did reach your ears, that members of opposition, of course led by the lead of opposition, that is Honorable Mathias Impuga, did go ahead to boycott the State of Nation address. Do you think that it was the right move to do, knowing that also you come from the National Unity platform?
Actually, we wanted to give a signal to the president that, one, we were hearing him every time and then talking, speaking, and he was speaking the same way, rhetoric. So we are saying that at this time around, we've been watching him speaking. We have heard him talking on COVID, speaking on cost of the commodity. But indeed, he has no everlasting solution. It was better for us to withdraw from the speech. Actually, to give a signal that there are great things that he has to do.
Okay.
Actually, to see that things turn to normal.
Okay, so Honorable Jara, back to you. What were your key take-homes in regard to the Presidential State of Nation address?
Well, first how the president started confused me a bit.
Is it the parable that had
Yes,
an
the
issue?
parable.
Okay.
The parable of the wise man and the foolish man.
Okay.
When you read the Bible and try to get the message in the message, then I'm sure you will get into deeper reflection and try to ponder where we belong as a country. Do we belong to
the wise?
To the wise, or
to
do we belong to the foolish? Because if the wise build his house on a firm foundation, where is our house? Is it built on a firm foundation, or we belong to the foolish group? I kept on thinking about that. Of course, as a Christian, different people get different interpretation from depending on how the Spirit leads them.
Yes.
So I'm not going to talk much on that. But unfortunately, I did not go to Kololo. I arrived from Nairobi late, but I followed. I followed the address, and I want to agree with many observations. That one, I think the president did not touch on a lot of what Ugandans wanted to hear. First, remember, this is a post-COVID. I do not want to call it a post-COVID because a few days ago, the Minister of Health reported that the cases are beginning to increase again. But I think 2022 has been fairly stable in as far as COVID is concerned. And so the expectation is that from the effects of COVID, there would be practical solutions to deal with the escalating prices, to deal with the extremely challenging economy, to deal with the difficult situation in the country. These are things that Ugandan expected to hear from the president. And of course, the president has his own style of talking to people, which to some of us who follow a lot these addresses, you are tempted to think that there is very little new to offer, very, very little new to offer. Maybe saying the same thing in a different way. And for me, I'm not excited. I'm not excited because it's not the first thing the first time you are hearing this. It's you will continue to hear. I think it shouldn't be a routine. It shouldn't just be a routine. It should be an address that provides a practical solution. We need to be solution-oriented as a country. Because if you are talking about building your house on a firm foundation, do we look at our neighbors and the kind of houses they have built? Okay? Look at our country, Uganda, from the time President Museveni came in 1986. Look at Rwanda. Look at the economy of Kenya. I just returned yesterday. Look at Tanzania, all right? We have got neighbors who were not that good, but what have they done differently that we can learn from them? But I've also listened to so many heads of states giving State of the Nation's address.
Okay.
And it's not a story. It's not about talking for several hours. It's about, it should be, hitting the target, and this is what we want to do, this is how we are going to do it, this is what we are putting to do it, and that's my expectation. Of course, I don't determine how somebody should talk, but my own opinion is that I think it's the usual fashion that does not offer much. And
Honorable, if I understand where you're coming from, and while you were giving your submission, Honorable Hannington here was shaking his head when you mentioned, when you look at our neighbors of Kenya, of Rwanda, I mean, name it, and the different innovations they have put in place. But you as an independent, as a legislature, you're trying to say that the State of the Nation address that the president always gives is the same, just twisted in a different language. So do you feel like key aspects were actually not highlighted in his address?
There was nothing new. Talking about the same thing in a different way, nothing new. If you, unless you want to really persuade me,
okay.
I do not.
No.
Yeah, because
I don't want to persuade you. I want to hear from you.
Because let me tell you this.
Okay.
Right now, there are commodities that ordinary Ugandans struggle to afford. Let me bring the closure to you. You as a lady.
Yes.
Cooking oil that all of us need, extremely expensive. Is there a solution? Yes. What is the solution? Supporting seed growers, oil seed growers. Supporting oil seed growers, supporting those who are doing sunflower, supporting, we have got local solutions that we can provide. There are people growing sunflower, there are people growing different kind of stuff, because we have been relying on other countries. And these other countries are no longer giving us the supply we need. Things have gone expensive. Okay? Then the president said, he said people should start using solar irrigation. And I said, you don't need to wait from government. You can go and buy. That's okay. That's okay. But you see, in other words, you're saying, it's your business. Government has a role. Has a role to play, because government needs to create an environment where even private people can have an opportunity to. So it's I think the president, in a way, he equally demonstrated his own frustration. There were so many questions he asked, so many questions. Interestingly, he should have asked himself those questions, asking what has gone wrong, why are we like this and that. He should be asking himself what exactly has gone wrong, because I should be asking myself, he should be asking himself, because at the end of the day, I think the bigger picture here is, how do we, number one, make sure we manage corruption. He talked about it towards the end, and he said there are three key things that the country needs to focus on. Number one is environmental protection.
Yes.
Actually, I'm telling you, it's the same story. Because when you try to find out who are the people encroaching on wetland, they are the same powerful people in government. They are known. Get them arrested, prosecute them. That is it. You don't tell stories. Why do you shift the blame on cows and dissos and
Gissos, yes.
And Gissos? These are individuals who are known, powerful people in position of government, trying to play around with systems. Get them arrested, prosecute them. That is the thing.
So,
okay?
Honorable Hannington, do you share the same sentiments?
And maybe, sorry for interruption. The other point he said is, he talked about environmental protection. Again, who are the people destroying the environment? All right? But you see, when you go to northern Uganda, there is an invasion, indiscriminate destruction on the environment. And people are cutting trees and making charcoal and all that. If we want to protect the environment, what alternative solution do we provide? What measures do we take? Can we introduce, charcoal, farming, where fast-growing trees can be introduced, and farmers are supported to grow fast-growing trees? Because in other countries there is charcoal farming, where government deliberately protects indigenous tree species, while introducing fast-growing trees and provide resources for people to. So in a way, you are shifting the focus away from the precious, tree species that we need to protect while supporting. And what about looking at other energy system? So so when you want to tackle one problem, tackle it and try to help people to look at an alternative. This is how I would want to. And then the last issue he talked about. He talked about he talked about corruption, fighting corruption. He talked about environmental protection, and I agree that fighting corruption in this country needs to be handled a lot more firmly. But where do we start from? Actually, we say fish starts to rot from the head. When you go to the ministries, the other day, Honorable Matia Kasaija was appearing before COSASE, the committee chaired by Honorable Joel, and he admitted that you see every time he appears before committees of parliament, he is admitting making terrible mistakes, but he keeps on shifting blames on his technocrats. Is the head. So there is a problem with the head. Cut the head.
I see where you're coming from, and I understand your frustration, because I mean, if we're talking about wetland being encroached on, and if we're talking about preserving wetlands and even the forests that we have, what solution are you giving to someone who knows that in their mind the only way they're able to cook is by having firewood, which is cut down from trees, which means there has to be a realistic solution? But before I come back to you, Honorable Jara, I would like to hear from you, Honorable Hannington. Do you share the same sentiments with your colleague right here, but also not neglecting the fact that the president did highlight a number of achievements, including the coffee deal that was signed by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development by Matia Kasaija? He also talked about the fact that he mentioned different irrigation schemes that have actually been set up, but also the solar panel that you still highlighted. Do you still think that the State of the Nation address did not highlight key aspects?
Of course, there are a number of things actually that he did not talk about. Very, very many things that he did not talk about. And in fact, we told you, yes, there are some areas, but it was actually on smooth. He didn't have a short-term solution to these problems. And people are suffering. People are making statements that they need solution to one, the fuel. They need solution. We didn't talk about education. Did you know? Uganda suffered 3 years. We are behind all the countries, but he did not talk about education. If a member of parliament, you can stop and think of how am I going to take the child to school? What about the layman? He did not talk about it. So there are a number of pertinent issues which we thought that the president was going to talk about and did not talk about. Okay. However, Honorable talked about something very. A president has been here for a lengthy span, but why is it that what has he not done well that other countries have done them well? Look at Rwanda. Look at Tanzania. We were in Arusha and we were sincerely mesmerized by what is there, the standard infrastructure, the order of the city. If you bring Arusha and you put it now in Kampala, the Arusha would consume Kampala. Why does he be a good copycat and actually do what the rest of the people are doing? We were talking about standard railway for many, many years. The Kenya finished their standard railway from Mombasa to Nairobi, and they are now shifting it to the border. But our country, we do not know what happened.
Okay.
So that is where we think that the president did not go deep in the things of the what, and he has been here for so long. So will the president, our president, who has been for more than 35 years, will he do any miracle? Will there be any magic? Okay. I don't think I will.
So let's look at the Vinci coffee deal, and the president did go on and highlight and say that he pioneered and spearheaded this particular deal. As legislators, what do you make of this? And I'll start with you.
The president talked about the Palabo. And we were so touched with the Palabo that if you want to start something, you start on good foundation. We know the person behind the Vinci. And that is the person that was given billions and billions of money to do a health center. And he never did it. It is now, member of parliament went there only to find that it is still in the foundation. Nothing was done completely. How dare can you give him another multi-billion staff? And do you know what? Uganda is relying on coffee. And there are three types of beans. We have that the 18, that is what was talking about, the 18, the 16, and the 12. If he takes the 12, if he takes the 18, it will be very difficult actually to manage the 16, the 15, and the 12. It will be very difficult. It will mean that this one will be sold locally. And we are interested with the foreign what? Money, actually, to boost these people. And the president had abandoned coffee. It is coffee farmers and the coffee exporters have tried to do whatever they can to see that coffee actually can sell on the world market well.
Okay.
It is only that he has done well that the president has come in, the government has come in actually to see, knowing, in fact, now the president knows the cost. What do we get from the world market? What do we get as Africa? Because you talked about that we get 2.5, is it billion? From the 460 billion that is got from the world. But then, what I'm saying, that the president would be calm with this coffee. If we were to have a good investor, it would not be Vinci because of his history.
Okay.
So what I should beseech the president is to calm down and leave the traders. Actually, they can fish their own what? Trade. Or they can actually work on their stuff and actually be able to sell and get that money. Because he has not interacted with even the traders and tell them that sincerely, if you want actually to promote your coffee, what should we do? They exchange the statement and then they reach an everlasting solution to what the president was talking about.
Okay, so Honorable Jara, do you feel relieved that finally people know who spearheaded this coffee deal? And I know the president came out to say that for those legislators who feel that this was a bad deal or a deal gone bad should come out and challenge him. What are your sentiments towards this?
We have challenged that. We have made our position known, and I can authoritatively tell you that Parliament took the decision to engage its own structure to study this agreement. The Committee on Trade carefully studied this agreement, interacted with different people, including that very company. The committee reported back to Parliament, and Parliament passed a resolution that that deal should be terminated.
So what exactly is wrong with the deal?
Well, I'll put just about four key things. Number one, the different provisions of the agreement were found not to be in the best interest of the country. And I'll put it in that way. Found not to be in the best interest of the country because it affects the farmers, it cripples the other private people, Ugandans who are involved in the coffee business, but also it creates a very bad precedent where, imagine, the company is exempted from almost every taxes, all right, including pay, including NSSF, including local service tax. There are lots of exemptions, and it's outrageous.
Okay.
Okay. But also the other thing is that it ties the entire coffee sector to one individual, because there would be a lot of, actually the rest of the players would be suffocated. So we found the agreement not in the interest of the country. The Parliament took a decision. The other thing you see in where I come from, when you want to deal with somebody, you look at their background, you look at their track record. And just like my colleague is putting, this company being entrusted with the responsibility of, carrying the sector, coffee sector, has a record that all of us know. This company was given about 348 billion to build Loboa Hospital. Where is the hospital? Where is it? It has not even reached roofing level, 300 and something billion. And actually, shamelessly, there was another demand of about 319 billion to add to this company. And the budget committee said, no, we cannot add more money to a company that has not shown to us what they have done with the money given before. So you are giving this huge responsibility to a company that has, it's like, you know, my sister, it's like I have given you the responsibility of running a kiosk. You fail running a kiosk and now you want to run a supermarket. How does it work?
But the president said that people who are against this coffee deal are enemies of progress. So,
well, you see, I think the president needs to change his perspective a bit. I fully agree with the president that we need to look at how we begin to do value addition in this country. I entirely agree with him. That is the direction we should pursue. I also agree with him that we need to protect the farmers. Because it's true that when we take raw materials out, we are getting less than 10% of what the rest of the people get.
okay.
So it's definitely not in our interest. We are getting little from that. So we are on the same page with the president on the need to begin doing value addition from within the country.
Okay.
So we can give more to the farmers. We can reap big from it. There we are on the same page. But where I don't agree is that you are entrusting someone who has failed to run a kiosk and you are giving that person a supermarket. It doesn't work. It does not work that way. So I don't know how I become an enemy of the president when I tell him that one you are giving. You see, anyway, I think we just need to be very honest.
Okay.
This lady Pinetti or the Vinci group,
Yes.
I'm not sure they have the capabilities required to do what they are trying to impress the president that they can do. If you try to find out, I tried getting a lot more information about this company. The only information I got was that I think around 2020 they did a feasibility study. They were given about 27 acres of land, all right, in Namamve. They have not put even a spoon. So you are, honestly speaking.
Okay, so back to you, Honorable Hannington, and I like the fact that Honorable Ojara had actually hinted on it in regard to raw materials, and the president during the State of the Nation address highlighted and said that the major factor affecting Uganda is the exportation of raw materials. What do you make of this?
It was true. There are a number of actually, you talked about iron core, and they say that Uganda, with our iron, it's around 70%. That if we are to take it, we get lesser. It could be sold at $90 only. That's what I was talking about. But when it is taken out, it could be around something like $700. That was a relatively okay. But do we have the mantle? Do we have the finance to manage heavy stuff to handle them? Look at coffee, our coffee. We have had coffee for so many years. But what tangible thing have we done? What tangible stuff has the country done to have good industry that work on the coffee, to have coffee like Nescafe, at the level of Nescafe? We don't have it.
Okay.
We have always been selling. That is what we told you in the beginning, that for the 35 years, what has he done? Can we do it now? Do you think the 35 years and the remaining time he has, will he be able to handle the many things that he's talking about? The fact is not. So let us go slow. He was slow, let us go slow. Because the coffee now, Nescafe, you talked about coffee that here we sell low material at a cheaper cost, and then they bring them back with a lot of value. But again, blending, because I was talking about the tea. Kenyan tea is ranked number 1. The Safari tea, number 1. It has a good flavor. But when you compare the garden tea of Uganda and you take it, the garden tea is much, much better than the Safari tea. But what the Kenyan did was to promote their tea so that it can reach the world market, be tested by many people, and people started yearning for it, which we don't do here. Our things are here, locally done. So Uganda has failed to penetrate the what? The international market.
But you see, the other thing that I think it's not just about going slow. If the president is really serious on this matter of value addition, are there local players already involved in value addition? The answer is yes. Go to Bugiso Coffee Cooperative
Yes.
Union. They are not just selling coffee beans. They are already doing value addition. They brought to Parliament. They actually presented to Parliament, and every member of Parliament went with a packet. Very high standard coffee, well processed, ready for consumption. So the question is, as Da Vinci produced even 1 spoon of processed coffee? No, they haven't tried. They haven't tried. But what about that group? Bugiso. There is also a gentleman here in Tinda. There is Coffee City.
Yes.
Run by Nelson Tugume. Is processing coffee. There are local players who are doing it. So
in other words, the president's call for emphasizing that Uganda's biggest challenge is the exportation of raw materials, but he encourages that we should export finished goods or value-added goods, is already something that we can actually have.
We can actually do it. We need to just appreciate whatever little is being done and support those who are trying to do it so they grow bigger.
Okay.
All right? And I don't have a problem with identifying investors who want to come to the country to do a similar thing, but we need to do due diligence and avoid dealing with people whose track records are not clear, because otherwise, if you fail to build a toilet, how do I entrust you to build a classroom?
You really do not agree with the signing of this coffee deal, but let's just shift lenses a bit and take a look at also another aspect that the president did highlight. And he said by 2026, he expects that Uganda will officially be a middle-income status country. Do you think that this is attainable and achievable?
Well, we are reading from different books. And actually, when the president, I told you I was watching, I followed the address from home. So
yes.
when the president started talking about that, I just went and grabbed a glass of water. I really needed water because, you know, last year, 2021,
okay,
UBOS published a report. And this report was terrible. Because if we are talking about reaching a middle income, you know, a middle income status,
yes,
as a country, we need to look at where are we getting this information from? Because UBOS came with their own statistics. Northern Uganda is doing terribly.
Sure.
Actually, sub-region where I come from is at 68%. Karamoja is at 65.7%. Busoga and all that. And so for me, instead of talking about these statistics, we need to roll our sleeves and begin to confront the very things are being talked about. And so when the president says by 2026,
yes,
but is this the first time the president is giving a date, a time frame?
But you asked where he got these statistics from, and I'll quote, and he says that the GDP, which is a gross domestic product per capita, is now at $1,046, which means the entrance points for the lower middle income status is at 1,036, and that is something as a country we have to maintain for a period of 2 to 3 years before we officially moved on as a middle income status country. So you still do not agree that these figures are actually correct?
There was a time some years back we were told by 2020, we would be reaching middle income class.
True.
There was a time we were also told. So I'm tempted to think it's the same story. Okay, well, let's give him the benefit of doubt. Let's see what happens by 2026.
Okay,
Yeah.
so back to you, Honorable Hannington. What do you feel? What are your sentiments towards the president saying by 2026 we are becoming a middle income status country? Of course, following the figures that he did present.
That is next to impossible. We were in Omoro.
Omoro.
Yes. We saw with our eyes. We saw what is there. We saw the poverty level. It's too much.
For us to be able to achieve.
It is, I'm telling you, has he handled the corruption rate? Has he handled, there are many sectors that he hasn't handled. That is, I don't think what the president, in fact, like my brother said, we wonder where he gets this information. It is impossible. You have heard what the Busoga people are talking. What I say, we're in Teso. We know what is happening there. So I don't believe that we will be able to.
I would want the president to be challenged. I was reading yesterday.
Yes.
Where President Kagame of Rwanda got challenged that a tiny country like Ukraine was supplying the globe, was producing wheat and supplying. And now that they're in this conflict with Russia, the globe is getting a pinch, is getting the impact. So I read yesterday, and when I was trying to compare what the president said, I started looking at the neighbors and what is being done elsewhere. And something touched me, where President Paul Kagame said he can never allow his country be in that state when a tiny country like Ukraine is able to produce wheat and feed the world. And he made a commitment that $1 billion should be injected into the agricultural sector for mechanizing agriculture. $1 billion. Get this money, mechanize agriculture. All right? Open more land. Get quality seeds. Get this. That is the kind of intervention I would want to hear. But now in this country, we think agriculture is going to change the story, but look at how much money is being put to agriculture sector. Look at how much money. It's not even number 2. It's not even number 3. Okay? Because we are talking about scaling up productivity, getting to the middle income status and all that. Majority of Ugandans rely or depend on agriculture. And the moment we know that they depend on agriculture, then we have to put more resources to support them. Do agriculture at a commercial level. And the moment we empower them to do it at a commercial level, we scale up their level of productivity, they get a lot more money. Everybody gets out of poverty.
Okay.
All right? I'll give you an example where I come from. In Acholi sub-region, our average land holding at household level stands at about 7 acres, averagely. And that is cultivable land, fertile land, stands at about 7 acres, averagely. At every
average?
Yes, at every household level. Okay? But land utilization, according to statistics, stands at about 35%. So you have got averagely 7 acres at household level, but you're using just about 1.7 acres. So the moment we have that statistic, then we need to use it to inform the decision we take. How do we then support those people with more land to open more so that they can use even 50 or 70%?
Okay.
That would change the story.
Okay.
But looks like we are bewitched. I don't know.
And do you know what happened? In fact, this time, the Minister of Finance told the Parliament they are unable to supply seeds to farmers. They are incapacitated with finance. Now, what are we going to do? So it is touching to see that we as a country have failed to invest in agriculture for good production.
Okay, so gentlemen, with that all said and done, of course, together with the fact that the State of Nation address did come to an end, so as legislators, what's your next course of action in regard to feasibility of some of the good initiatives that will help the common Ugandans? And I'll start with you, Honorable Jara.
Well, we have a long way to go.
Okay.
And as Parliament, we are committed to doing our part. We hope the executive will stop disappointing us. Because a lot of the disappointment comes from the executive, comes from the people who implement the decisions that we take. So I hope this time every player will begin to walk the talk. When the executive wants money from Parliament, you see they do everything to get money, but the money that goes out, when you try to assess the impact, that's where you get more worried. I think as we prepare, of course, I do not want to say there is nothing good in the president's state of address. Okay, there are things that if we practically use them, and where I have a cold spirit is that even when the president says a lot, with whatever amount of energy he says, the people who should support him to drive the agenda fail him. I don't know why he keeps them around. Okay. There are people who should have been fired yesterday. They should not be wasting time.
That will be a conversation for another day. But Honorable Hannington, I would like to hear from you in regard to the fact that you're a legislator, looking at the feasibility and what you plan to do for the common Ugandan to help them.
I think the best word is that we need to be in marriage, and a good marriage, all of us, the executive, the parliament, and the judiciary. Once we're in marriage, things will move. When we talk about that it's a corruption-free country, let us all adhere to that. Let us move forward. If we want to do some construction, if we say that let us focus, let us put this money on agriculture, let us do that, and let it do its importance.
Okay, so as we wind up the conversation, I would like to give the both of you an opportunity. If there is anything you would like to tell to the voters, to the people that are watching CTV this morning, what would you want to tell them?
First and foremost, I want to thank you. I appreciate this time that you've given to me. The voters of Nasana and the rest of Uganda. First, we are focused on making roads in Nasana. I'm lucky that the KCCA has given us 2 roads. That is Wamala, Katoke, Nabweru. We are starting our great work there. We are also going to do the Matuga Road. We are finishing it. That is the lucky part of it. And also, we'll be trying with the little resources that we have to promote those that are doing small business in my constituency. Okay. So thank you.
So back to you, Honorable Jara. Any last remarks for the people that are watching you this morning?
Well, this country belongs to all of us. I'm a farmer myself. Not just a farmer, I also support farmers. Actually, I have a farm that trains farmers. We are accredited by the Directorate of Industrial Training, and in our farm we try to make farming attractive to young people. And so I'm very passionate about farming, and majority of my community members are farmers. And my prayer is that we try our best as individual citizens to not join the line of what I would call people who keep on lamenting. I think we need to take responsibility and do what we can to get ourselves better. From the president's address yesterday, there are certainly things that government is not likely to pay attention to. And so if you care, try to provide solutions.
Okay. Yeah. So let's now take it personal. The people who you serve from Gulu West, and that is Laibi Division, what do you want to tell them?
Well, there are a lot of things we are faced with as the people of Badeg Laibi. We are doing a lot of work with them. We are trying to drive a point that we are a solution to our problem. And there are many groups that are doing things that, you know, unbelievable. So much as poverty is consuming the country, I think we shouldn't lose hope. We shouldn't lose hope. We should work hard and support our families, support ourselves, but also play a part in you know, contributing to the economy. We can do that when we are productive. We live a productive life. Unfortunately, there are so many young people who are still redundant and they think they should wait for somebody to employ them. I think we need to know that we have what it takes to be productive. So that is the message I always give to our people.
Okay.
And my message is not lamentation. My message is a solution-oriented message. Get out to work.
Okay.
Let's do something that can make us better.
Okay.
That's the message.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me this morning. It has been a pleasure sitting down to discuss matters of national importance and interest this morning on CTV.
Welcome. Well,
that wraps up what I had for you this morning on the Twitter Jabs. Of course, I seated down with Honorable Hannington Museke as well as Honorable Ojara Martin, and they were weighing in regard to the recently concluded State of the Nation address that was delivered by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni yesterday at the Kololo Independence Grounds. Well, the conversation continues, and we shall continue to keep you updated in regard to how people feel as to whether key aspects in the State of the Nation address were actually addressed. Otherwise, stay tuned. The show continues, but up next is Our Views, and we shall be having a celebrity feature in Our Views. So you want to keep watching Sunrise at Sea, and don't blink.